Hello, thank you for joining me. Happy Monday. I hope you have had a great Monday. If you are here in Southern Ontario, it's a little chilly outside. I guess there's an Arctic cold front coming. So I hope you were able to get out and enjoy maybe some sunshine depending on where you are. It's a little too cold for me to be able to do that here, so I have spent all day inside doing stuff. But I hope you have had a much more functional day than I have. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the struggle to stay focused and sort of not get distracted, and sort of how everybody's sort of dealing with lockdown, because we are coming to the end of lockdown, it sounds like, based on what was said about Southern Ontario's lockdown here today. So for those of you who do live in Ontario like I do, next week we'll be able to not necessarily go out, but there are going to be a few other things that are open, and some restrictions are going to slowly change. So that's good news. I know a lot of people are starting to feel not just claustrophobic, but definitely a little bit frustrated with how things are going. So I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to chat with you tonight about how I'm struggling to stay focused and how I'm struggling to sort of stay on task right now, because it is that time of year. And this is something that tends to happen to me typically January, February-ish. Winter didn't come here in Southern Ontario until just the last couple of weeks, really. So I think I'm a little delayed in my typical reaction for winter, but I do have a harder time focusing. I do have a harder time staying on task and getting things done at this time of year. And I don't think I'm the only one. And I also think lockdown has sort of exacerbated that. And I think for a lot of people, especially as I talk to you, for a lot of people, it's one of those things that just makes it really difficult for us all to stay on task and stay focused, because we know we technically have some time, but we also don't have anywhere to go. We don't have anyone that we have to go out and meet. We don't have all of these other things to do. And it makes it hard to stay focused, because you can sort of use the excuse, well, I can get to it tomorrow if I don't get to it today. It's okay. It'll still be there. I'm not going anywhere. And so it's just really hard to stay focused that way. And I wanted to chat with you guys about that, because I wanted to know, are you feeling the same way? Are you struggling right now to stay on track? Are you having problems focusing on certain tasks? I had set a schedule for myself to do certain things for a certain time period every day. And that's typically how I go about my day, so that I can go from different tasks to other things and not get too bogged down in one task specifically. But that hasn't been working for me for the last 3 or 4 days. As you guys know, because I've been posting videos and pictures of it, I've sort of made exercise a really regular part of my routine. And even part of that, I'm starting to have a problem focusing with. So yesterday, about 10 minutes into my 30-minute workout, my mind started to wander. I wasn't really paying attention, and my workout was definitely not as effective yesterday. And I have yet to do my workout today, even though it's 7 o'clock at night. So I'll be doing that late tonight. And typically I do that first thing in the morning. But I've just had a really hard time focusing and staying on task and getting things done for the last few days. And yes, there's a lot of things that we can do if we're having those sorts of issues, if we're having, a struggle trying to stay on task because we're distracted by things around us. And I'll talk about some of that stuff, but I want to know, are you guys struggling with anything right now? Are you struggling to stay focused, to stay on task? Are you maybe just struggling with the fact that we've been in lockdown for a while now? Are you struggling because the kids went back to school today here in Southern Ontario? Or are you in one of the areas where your kids are still doing homeschool and you're struggling with that? If you're watching live, absolutely let me know sort of what you're struggling with now, and we'll have a conversation. If you're watching on the replay, post it in the comments. I'd love to be able to have a conversation where everyone can see who's struggling with what, and maybe how we can support each other in getting through those struggles. So for me right now, it's really a focus thing, which means I need to remove all of the distractions that are around me. And as you guys can see, I've changed the office around a little bit, mostly because of my giant birthday balloons. But what I did today was actually make some other changes to the office so that I can put my office in a different position to allow for less distractions because I'm having such a hard time staying focused right now. And I've started not touching my phone first thing in the morning, which I know is really difficult and we have talked about before, but it's really easy to get sucked into checking emails and checking social media first thing in the morning. And so I don't do that right now. I haven't been doing that for 3 days now because I know I have a little bit of scatterbrain and I know I'm easily distracted right now and I can't stay focused. So if I get up in the morning and I leave it alone and I don't touch it for the first hour or so, I can accomplish other things and feel like I'm getting somewhere in the course of my day. So that's sort of what I've been doing to compensate for that. But I'm definitely feeling like I think it's a combination of everything. I think right now it's the lockdown, it's winter, it's the fact that there isn't a whole lot of sunlight, it's the fact that a year ago I was on a cruise ship and I was traveling and I haven't been able to do that. And so all of these things have sort of piled up on the other thing. And I'm sort of in a place right now where I feel like I definitely every 20 minutes or so, I'm distracted by something or a thought pops into my mind and that's what I'm focusing on. So it's only been the last few days that I've started to have these struggles with actually, staying focused and on task. But I think that's just because of sort of where we are in this whole process, right? Hi, Brenda. Brenda says she was good till last week. Oh, Brenda got a layoff notice again. I'm sorry, Brenda. I know you said you thought that was coming. It is definitely hard to stay on task and certainly focus when that's what you're dealing with. I hope it's only temporary for you guys. I hope, especially with things opening back up in the next couple of weeks, slowly and progressing sort of down that path, and with spring coming, that hopefully you will only be temporarily laid off for a short time. This, I think, is something that a lot of people are thinking about at this point, whether they're going through what you're going through, Brenda, or not. I think a lot of people are worried that that might be coming because of the lockdowns that we've been in, because of how businesses are suffering, because of all of the new restrictions that have come out lately. So that's definitely something that I think some other people can probably relate to too. But I hope you're doing okay. I know that's certainly not something that's easy to deal with, and certainly concerning given sort of how long you've worked there and everything that you do. So I'm definitely fingers crossed that, you'll at least be able to maybe have a mini break. I know we can't really go anywhere or do anything, but maybe have a mini break and then be able to get back at it. Oh, yes. And Brenda, you bring up simple abundance. So yes, one of the days last week, there was the not looking at social media for a whole week. And when I read that in the book, so for everyone who is watching, if you don't know Simple Abundance, it's a book we're doing for the Chasing Happiness Book Club this month. It's actually a book that's going to take us all year. So it's 1 or maybe 1.5 pages, depending on the specifics of that particular day, every day for the whole year. And one of the things was absolutely not to look at social media. Here's the thing. I can't go a whole week without looking at social media, in part because I have to post for this business. So I can preload some information to be able to go out on social media and then not actually be sitting on Facebook all day and things like that. But when people message the business personally or reach out to me through Chasing Happiness, I have to be able to respond to them. So I can't take a whole week off. But what I have done is start to not actually look at my phone first thing in the morning, and for the first hour or so, not have anything to do with social media. So the thoughts of the day that you see go up for Chasing Happiness, those are preloaded. They go into a program that allows me to send them to Facebook and to Instagram without me having to be present. So those go out in the morning automatically through the computer. I don't have to touch anything to be able to see them. And when I finally do end up on social media later in the day, I do share it just from the business page to our little group on Chasing Happiness. But aside from that, that's sort of how I'm doing that part of the book, Brenda, just because I can't completely walk away from it. But definitely, I have noticed a difference in the last few days. When I'm not jumping on Facebook within 5 minutes of waking up, I definitely feel better and a little more focused in the morning. So I think for me, it's working a little bit, which is great because we all are sort of sucked into the social media world, especially given sort of everything that's going on. It's really been the only way we can stay in touch with people over the last year, aside from Zoom. And a lot of people are booking all of their Zoom stuff and then posting it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. So it is something that we've definitely become more reliant on, I think, over the last year. Oh, I'm glad that it's only temporary, Brenda, until April 30th. Fingers crossed, everything will be sort of back up and running in full by then. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for you and everyone else who's affected. I'm hopeful for everyone who wants to just be able to get traveling again and exploring the world, and maybe not necessarily the way we were prior to this, because I think it's probably going to take us a little bit of time to get back to that, but fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we can all, hopefully by spring, be sort of, working our way back towards that. I don't even want to call it normal because I think we're going to have a new normal, but what life sort of felt like prior to all of this. Yes, exactly. The videos that you get nothing out of, like cat videos or things like that. Absolutely, guys. That's 100% the thing. And you can very easily get distracted. I will tell you. So on Fridays, WandaVision comes out on Disney Plus, and I will 100% tell you, it comes out at like 3 a.m. I do not get up at 3 a.m. to watch it. In fact, I don't watch it until later in the afternoon on Fridays because it is one episode only once a week. It is kind of like when we were little and you had to wait a whole week for the new TV show to show up. It's just like that. And it sort of drives me a little bit crazy. But on one hand, it's really good because I know, I can get stuff done. I can do things. And then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a Friday, I can go and I can watch that. But then after it's over, I do end up on social media because I want to see what people are saying about the episode. I want to talk to somebody who has seen the episode. And then you end up down a rabbit hole, right? You end up with all of those videos and everybody who's posting things. And, you look up from your phone 2 hours later and suddenly you've become so distracted. You're down this rabbit hole of 16 different videos and theories and things. So it is kind of like the cat videos. It is kind of like, in fact, I'll share with you on a side note. I went down a rabbit hole almost 2 weeks ago now. Someone had posted a video of a dog that had been taught how to press buttons for different words. And so I went down a rabbit hole of people teaching their pets during quarantine how to have actual conversations. So this dog would say, that he wanted to go outside with different buttons, or he would say that he loved his mom. I 100% got sucked into the rabbit hole. And this is the thing. I'm very easily distracted right now. I'm struggling to stay focused. I even find myself in the middle of a distraction, becoming distracted by something else, which is why I am changing the office around again over the next couple of days. It's why I'm sort of putting myself on a bit of a schedule with the help of Simple Abundance and not touching my phone first thing in the morning. It's one of the reasons why I try to work out in the morning so that I can get it done and it doesn't fall to the bottom of my list. I try to read first thing in the day so that I can get some of that done without being distracted by other things. There's just too many distractions right now. And some of that focus is probably just lack of being able to go anywhere or do anything or be with people. We're home, right? We're home. We're sitting at home. We know the TV is there. We know the computer is there. We know the phone is there or the iPad or whatever it is. And it's just really easy right now to become distracted by those things. So I feel for people who are struggling right now with too many things on their plate because they're working from home and they have their kids at home. I can't even imagine how distracted I would become if that was the circumstance. So I'm going to try really hard not to super complain. But I definitely don't think I'm the only one that's struggling with that focus right now. So what can we do aside from sort of getting rid of the distractions to be able to deal with that focus? And there is a few things, if you're not doing them already, that might help. Some of those things include making sure you're getting enough sleep, which, let's be honest, is one of the things that I think a lot of us are struggling with right now. It's hard to get enough sleep when you're worried about everything that's going on. If you're worried about your job, your family's safety, if you're worried about how long we're going to be in lockdown, if you're worried about your kids going back to school because that started, or when your kids will be able to go back to school. All of those worries sort of carry through when we try to sleep throughout the night. And then, of course, we don't get the 8 hours of sleep that we need. So trying to get as much sleep as you can, trying to get a restful sleep is really important to help us stay focused. But I don't know that it's necessarily possible for all of us right now. I will tell you, I have changed my sleep schedule in the last few days because I'm having such a hard time staying focused. So I am going to bed a little bit earlier than what I typically would in the last few days. And I'm getting up a little bit earlier to see whether or not I can compensate for sort of the distraction and the lack of focus that I have. Cutting out caffeine is one of the things that you can try as well. It's actually a really big suggestion by a lot of doctors if you're having a hard time staying on task or staying focused. I only drink one cup of coffee a day. I don't know that cutting it out would help because honestly, I don't think I've finished a full cup of coffee probably in like 2 weeks. So I don't necessarily think that it's the coffee aspect for me. I think it's just we've gotten to a point where we've been in this almost a year now. So here in Southern Ontario, I officially went into lockdown self-isolation on March 17th. So we're about a month away from it being a full year. And I think mentally that's just starting to weigh on us, right? That's starting to resonate with us as we see our Facebook memories, as we see, things come up on Instagram to remind us of where we were a year ago before this all started, right before this all started. And I think we're all just needing some time to process. A lot of it is we haven't been able to stop and process everything that we've been through over the last year. So I want to know from you whether or not you think part of the focus, part of the struggle right now is just that we're officially almost a year in, and this is not where any of us sort of thought we would be a year in. I was very hopeful and maybe a little bit naive when we started this a year ago. I thought 6 months. I didn't think it would be like 30 days, like most people who I had talked to had thought, but I thought maybe 6 months. Because I remember going through SARS and I remember what that was like for us, but I remember how quickly it also seemed like we got back to normal. And it was really intense when SARS hit. And it was really traumatic for the first little while, especially if you had family members like I did who worked in healthcare. But then it almost seemed like something switched. And instantly life sort of seemed back to normal, and then there was no SARS. And it's not that there was no SARS, it's just you weren't hearing about it the way that you had been hearing about it for the first 6 months or so. So I think this is different because obviously we're still hearing about it every day. We're still surrounded by it. We're reminded of it constantly, and we don't know how long it's going to go on for. So I think that's part of the distraction. And I think taking the time that we need to process our feelings about that, how emotional we are about all of that, how sad we are about all of that. All of those things, I think, are part of why we're struggling right now, why we're struggling to stay focused, why we're struggling to stay on task, why we're struggling to show up in the way that we typically would. I have spent, out of the last 5 days, probably 3 of the 5 days not doing any kind of video chat with anyone. Now, a couple of days, I did do some video chatting with some friends, and only that. I didn't do any Zoom meetings. I didn't go to any sort of networking events or anything like that, specifically because I'm trying to take a break from that. I'm trying to give myself a little bit of breathing room because we've all lived on Zoom for a year. We've all lived on FaceTime for a year. And while I think it is important for us to stay connected, I think it is important for us all to continue to have conversations with the people we love and care about. I think it's also important for us to take a step back and take the time that we need when we need it to say, I don't have the energy or the ability to put any effort into this today. And I hope businesses are cognizant of that. I hope employers understand that for some employees, maybe it's too much of a distraction for them to be on a Zoom meeting all day, and an email would be easier and more effective. I don't know. That's my personal view. So let me know if you disagree. Let me know how you feel about it. But I definitely feel like right now we are all sort of just trying to navigate, hopefully, the next few months before we can at least get to spring. My hope for all of us is spring will be like it kind of was last year, where we're able to get outside a little bit, even if it's just locally. We're able to, meet outside with a very small group of friends and family and feel a little more connected and sort of not be so locked up. I think we all, as my mother said to me this week, we all kind of feel like we're in jail. It's a horrible analogy, but in some ways it's sort of the perfect analogy. We do kind of feel like we've been jailed. We haven't done anything wrong. We're not the ones responsible, but in order to protect the people we love and care about, as well as ourselves, we kind of are imprisoned in our own homes. And as much as I love my house, as much as I love the things I surround myself with, I also love the great outdoors. I love nature. I love people. I want to be able to, go to the park. I want to be able to go visit a friend, grab a cup of coffee. And I think we're all just really missing that right now. So that's a lot of the struggle to stay focused for me. That's a lot of the struggle right now to stay on task and to get things done. What I've had to do, and I keep looking to my side because I have a day planner, an actual old school day planner, and I write down all of the tasks that I have to accomplish in a week. And I'm going to show you guys my old school day planner. So typically, now obviously this is a couple weeks from now, so it's all blank, but typically what I'll do is I'll sit down in the morning and I'll write out 5 or 6 things that I have to get done in the course of the day. And then I'll give myself a time frame to get them done. Whether it's a task that's going to take 30 minutes, whether it's a task that's going to take 2 hours. And if it's something that I think right now, especially because I'm so distracted, if it's something that I think is going to take more than 10 or 15 minutes, I break it up into sections. So, 15, 20 minutes in the morning, 15, 20 minutes in the afternoon, whatever it happens to be, so that I can focus on it as intensely as I need to or am capable of in the moment, and then go do something else to give my brain a bit of a break from that task, and then go back to it again later. And that seems to be helping a little bit. I don't know. It's only been a few days, like I said, so I don't know how successful I will be with that, but that's my goal for this week, to see whether or not that's actually helpful or not. What are you guys doing to sort of stay on task and to stay as focused as you can right now with what you're dealing with and everything that's on your plate? Let me know if you're watching live. Let me know in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, still post in the comments. I think it would be great if we could all share sort of our tips and our tricks and how we're all coping. Because I think right now all of the tips and tricks we can get our hands on are helpful, whether they work for us or whether or not they'd work for somebody we know and who is also struggling, or someone who maybe we work with who might be struggling with something different. It's hard right now for everyone, regardless of the kind of person that you are, I think. And right now, I think we just miss people. Excuse me. I know I miss people. I miss being able to randomly show up at people's houses, which sounds silly, but I do. I miss being able to grab a cup of coffee and take a road trip. Because right now, if I take a road trip, even if I stay in my car, at some point I'm going to need to pull over to pee. Where do you do that right now that we're on lockdown? So, yeah, I think I just really miss people. And I miss the interaction. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been distracted. it's not even like I want to like sit and watch TV, because the other day I turned the TV on and frankly, I put something on that I've seen like a million times and didn't even watch it. It was just kind of noise in the background while I did other things. But I think that's part of the reason, because I just wanted something familiar. I wanted some familiar sounds. I wanted some voices basically in the background while I did what I was doing, so that it didn't feel so isolating, so that I didn't feel so alone. Oh, Brenda, that's a great tip. So Brenda says she was struggling with eating and trying to lose weight. So 3 weeks ago, she started to meal plan. Meal planning is huge and something that a lot of people, I think, are afraid of, because it can be a lot of work depending on what you're meal planning, how you're meal planning. So let me know, Brenda, what kind of a meal plan you're doing if you feel comfortable sharing. I think that would be helpful. Absolutely. Meal planning is one of those things that I think can definitely make your life easier, but requires a little bit more effort in the beginning. I do meal plan. Now, I haven't really done it since COVID because I've been home. Before COVID, because I worked a 9 to 5 job and then did Chasing Happiness, I meal planned every weekend so that my whole week was planned out, so that I had no sort of time to sit around and go, what am I going to eat tonight? Everything was pre-planned, pre-cooked, pre-ready to go, because I just didn't have the time. Now that I'm home, I'm not meal planning. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm also a little bit distracted, Brenda, because I do have to actually think about my food now, which is interesting. I'll have to put some thought into that, Brenda. Brenda says so far it is working. She's eating healthier and lost some weight. Congratulations, Brenda. That's awesome. I love that it has led to you eating better and losing some weight. And I'm assuming feeling a little bit better as well. That's definitely one thing that I think has made a huge difference for me this year, is I focused a lot more, even more than I had been. I focused a lot more on healthier options now that I'm home, and being able to pay more attention to what I'm actually putting in my body. And it's made a real difference in how I feel emotionally as well as physically. So fingers crossed, whatever happens 6 months from now, a year from now, this is now a way of life rather than just sort of a temporary thing. And I've talked to a lot of people who have told me they've started to focus a lot more on health, overall health, since the pandemic started. So I think it's great that meal planning is working for you, Brenda. I know my brother and my sister-in-law, when this started, I don't think they started it in March of last year. I think it was probably April, May-ish. They started trying some of those meal planning kits that you can order. I don't remember which one they started with, whether it was HelloFresh or one of those things, but it was something like that. And it has led to them eating a little bit better and cooking together, which has been a great experience for them as well. So things like that can definitely help us. And I think right now, as we struggle with different aspects of life, trying to come up with creative solutions is really important. I also think just being kinder to ourselves about it is really important too. Because I've talked about it before, it's hard not to beat yourself up. That's who we are. That's how we behave a lot of times. We beat ourselves up for how we feel, for how we don't show up in the way that we should or think we should. And right now, I think we just need to give ourselves grace. We need to do the best we can, and tomorrow we will do better. That's actually, so for Brenda and everyone else who's reading Simple Abundance with the book club this year, that's one of the things that I've sort of loved about it. Is one of the things in Simple Abundance is to write 5 things that you're grateful for every day. And some days I'm simply writing, I'm grateful that I gave myself some grace today. I'm grateful that I didn't beat myself up for not getting X, Y, or Z done. Those sorts of things are helping right now, because we all are human and we are struggling in some way, shape, or form right now. And so the more we can support each other and be kind to each other, and the more we can support ourselves and be kind to ourselves, the better off we're going to be when this does end and we can start to get back to a normal life. So Tacey says she hates cooking, but yesterday She did stuffed peppers, chicken fajitas, shepherd's pie, meatloaf, pierogies, frozen banana slices covered in peanut butter. Yes, the frozen bananas covered in peanut butter and hazelnut spread are one of my favorites, and a fantastic little snack, but definitely time consuming. So for those of you that haven't tried it out there, you take frozen bananas. Well, you actually take a banana, you slice it up, put it on a cookie sheet, freeze it. I typically freeze them for about 24 hours, depends on how thick you slice the bananas. And then you melt some peanut butter. You dip those frozen bananas in the melted peanut butter so that they're fully coated. Stick them back on the cookie sheet, put them back in the freezer. Let them freeze again for about 24 hours. And you see how this becomes a little bit of work, right? But then once they're frozen again, you do the same thing with a hazelnut spread. Now you can choose Nutella, because I know a lot of people love Nutella. And I actually think this last Friday was Nutella Appreciation Day or something. Chocolate Spread Day or something they called it. I don't use the Nutella. I use the one by Kraft because it doesn't have any palm oil in it, and I think it tastes more like cocoa. Personal preference, use whatever you want. But you melt that, and then you dip the frozen peanut butter banana into the chocolate, and then you freeze them again. Wonderful, healthier snack if you're looking to have something sweet, but something with a little bit of protein as well. And of course, it's a banana, so it's vitamins and minerals and those sorts of things. And Brenda, you say it sounds amazing. It is amazing, and might also be fun for you to do with the grandkids or even just with your family. I have seen people, rather than slice the banana up, they put the banana on like a popsicle stick, and then they just dip it in the peanut butter, and then they dip it in the hazelnut spread. So either or, however you choose to do it, it is kind of fun, and you don't have to spend hours doing it, but it does take time for everything to freeze. So you do spend a little bit of time doing each step, but then give it however long you want it to freeze. Super enjoyable, and then you've got snacks for days. So I definitely love that, and I think it's worth trying for everybody, but that's just one of my things. And my mother loves it too, so meal planning is really important. And I think, especially right now, if you're somebody who has kids in your house, if you're someone who has a spouse, meal planning can be a little bit of fun too, because it's something you can do together, which will help you feel a little less isolated. Everybody's working from home, but a lot of us are working in different spaces than the people we're staying with or isolating with. And for good reason, because we can't be on Zoom calls at the same time and hearing each other and seeing each other. But that can also lead to a lot more isolation, right? So the more tasks we can do together, the better off we'll be. And I realize it's past 7:30 and I don't want to keep everybody too long, but is there anything else you are struggling right now with? Is there anything that you're looking forward to now that they've announced that within the next week, certain restrictions are going to be lifted? Some people are going to be able to start going places. Certain areas will be able to start to do things and have certain businesses open. So is there anything you're looking forward to when that happens within the next week? Excuse me. I know a couple of people who are just counting down the days until we can travel. I am as well, but I'm also realistic. I don't think it's going to happen until the end of summer. Not the way I want to travel. I think we'll be able to travel locally and around the country over the spring, but I don't know that I'll be able to internationally travel until the end of summer. So I'm trying to not get too excited, but also am very hopeful that that's coming back, because as you guys know, I posted some pictures this week of the trip that I took a year ago before the world came crashing down around all of us. And if I had known then what I know now, I may never have gotten off that boat originally. I shouldn't say that, but we definitely at the time had no idea how serious this really was. Nobody was really talking about it the way that they were come March. And it was the first week in February. So it was something that was happening on the other side of the world, hadn't really been talked about over here as something that we needed to worry about over here. And I think we all probably would have still gotten on the boat regardless, because I don't think any of us knew how bad it was going to get. Even a month later, when the world went into lockdown, I don't think any of us realized we'd still be here a year later. So Tacy wants a mani-pedi. It's funny. I was talking to my best friend Amanda about this the other day. We definitely want manis and petties as soon as we possibly can. I want to get back to getting my false eyelashes done. So I do lash extensions. For those of you that don't know, you can only see there's a couple of them left, but they've all mostly fallen out. The really long ones are the lash extensions that are still on my lashes, like right there. It's one of the things that I do because I don't smoke, I don't drink. It's something that I do that makes me feel good about me. And I can wake up in the morning, and even on mornings when I don't look good, I feel good because I look at myself in the mirror and I love my lash extensions. So shout out to Lumi Lashes. Colette, I miss you. I love you. I hope you're doing okay. I cannot wait to come back and see you and get lashes again. So fingers crossed within the next couple of months, we will be back on that train. As well as the mani-pedi train, the facial. I would love to go and have a facial. When was the last time you had a facial? Something simple, even a haircut. I got my haircut in August, I think. And I haven't had it cut since, obviously, because of COVID, because of lockdown. Something as simple as a haircut again, I would love to be able to go do. The little things. I think once we can start to get back to some of those little things, I think we're going to feel less distracted. We're going to feel less isolated. We're also going to feel less confined by COVID. We all feel a little bit confined by COVID right now because some of those normal things that we would do, we haven't been able to do. You know, having friends over. Brenda, you built yourself a wonderful garden over the summer. Having some friends over to have coffee in your backyard. Those sorts of things. I get that it's a little cold right now, especially with the Arctic warm front and the snow, or Arctic cold front and the snow. I wish it was a warm front. But something as simple as being able to sit in your backyard with a few friends and have coffee or tea and a conversation, those sorts of things, once we can get back to them, I think will also help us struggle a little less and feel sort of less distracted and isolated. All of that basically to say, if you are struggling right now, you are not alone. And I think for most of us, as we start to get out of lockdown, that will go away. So let's just give ourselves some grace this week. Let's do the best we can. Make positive changes that you can, like Tacey, like Brenda. If there's something that you think isn't working for you right now, even though it's been a part of your life for a while, change it up. Change how things are working. Change your sleep schedule, your exercise schedule. Change your office. You guys, this will be the last time that you see my beautiful numbers. As you can see, they're shrinking. So I'm changing the office because I need to be facing a different direction so that I'm not distracted. You guys can't see it, but there's lots of distraction in this direction. So I am changing the office a little bit again and doing what I can to be a little less distracted and a little more focused when I need to be. But I'm also very cautious about what I agree to do and what I agree not to do right now because I know how easily distracted I am and how unfocused I am in a lot of ways this week. So hopefully it's just for this week. Maybe it's just this time of year. Maybe it has something to do with the moon cycle. I have no idea, but I know we're all dealing with different things right now, and it's okay. It's okay that we're dealing with them in different ways. It's okay if you are someone who's not struggling at all right now. That's okay too. I have talked to a couple of people this week who are super glad that kids have gone back to school and they get to have a breather, and that's okay too. It doesn't matter how you feel. However you're feeling right now is perfectly acceptable. I just want us all to support each other through whatever the next stage in this journey is going to be and give each other tips and tricks and things that might help. So if you're someone who's struggling to eat properly right now because you're so stressed out, maybe do what Brenda did and start meal planning, or try to figure out a day or two a week where you can meal plan, or whether or not you can get a couple extra hours sleep or fit some exercise into your day-to-day life. Get a standing desk if you think that's going to help you stay a little more focused at work. Those sorts of things all make a little bit of a difference. So do what you can this week. And it's like 7:40. So I apologize because typically I only keep you guys till 7:30. But do what you can this week. Stay on track if you can. Reach out if you need help with anything. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in week after week. And I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful week. I will let you get back to it. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay warm, stay safe, and I will chat with you guys next Monday. Bye.